on February 14th. It's now about 10:15, is that right? 10:15 or
10:13.
10:13. And we are subject to being recorded and videoed. And in attendance is
Ellie.
Barry.
Barry, Lucy, and Janet, and June. Okay, now, as far as the minutes go,
I can read them if you want.
okay, and that would be for the 11th or the 23rd?
That's for the last meeting.
Oh, for January 29?
Yeah,
Okay,
okay. So, meeting was called to order 2:02 p.m. at the 1870 Town Hall, 12 Woodward Ave, by June Miller. Members attending: June Miller, Barry Ager, Lucy Ayers, Janet Woodward. Absent was Ellie Bergen. And guests attending was Lisa Wysocki from the Municipal Affordable Housing Trust and Timothy Wheeler from CPAC, I put, because that's what he was representing, I thought. So the affordable housing, I'm sorry if I can't, here, Barry,
It's all right.
read with me.
Go ahead.
Affordable housing plans in Berlin. So Lisa Wysocki, representing the Municipal Affordable Housing Trust, explained their mission to provide affordable housing to comply with Governor Healy's recent enactment. Several town properties, Baker Road, Allen Road, and Gates Pond Road, were considered. However, the only one with no encumbrances was the American Legion Hall on Lincoln Road, the former West Berlin School. The Legion is no longer used by the Legion to hold their meetings, I should have said the building, and remains empty and in need of repairs. The property was inspected by North Central Mass Habitat for Humanity and deemed a good choice to rehab it as perpetually affordable home for a needy family. And Carolyn Reed is the director of North Central Mass Habitat for Humanity, and it's READE. Lisa explained there was no intent to knock down the building, but to keep the existing and historic envelope of the building as it is now. No mention was made of any additions to increase the square footage of the existing spot. June thinks it might require preservation restriction on the building. Lisa stated they are looking to issue an RFP quickly, hopefully by town meeting. And the town administrator, just a note that Lisa made, is in the process of reducing costs to maintain the unused and empty town buildings. So, at our last meeting, the Commission preferred preserving the West School as a historical building, possibly deeding the property to not Habitat, but to the historical, if possible. And then Barry noted the potential as a historical building for interpretation and history of the area. The structure has not changed much, degrading due to lack of upkeep and bathrooms that have been added. Those are the big change, and I apologize, I didn't get a chance to do all of this because I just felt like sleeping. So funding for the school could come from the Historical Society, and it would be a possible space for the school collection that the Commission owns, or the town owns actually. So June is, wanted to discuss the language to be used to maintain its integrity, for the building. And Fred has keys to the Legion Hall and was suggested to speak with Capital Planning and Housing Trust and to determine what the cost of maintaining the building to the town. So then, the pole barn, Barry received demolition delay notification for the South Common Pole Building. Barry made
it's just a permit.
permit.
Yep.
Okay, permit, yeah, we'll put that in there. Barry made the motion that there was no historical significance or interest to preserve the pole barn or to impose a 6-month demo delay. Lucy seconded the motion, 4-0 in favor. Project managers. Okay, so continuing the search for project manager to oversee Bullard House rehab. Barry will be reviewing the documents prepared by several contractors over the last years to provide to Rob Corey, of which company I forgot?
Woodox. Could you read that again?
So Barry had said that he was going to be reviewing the documents that had been prepared, all of the proposals that have been prepared by several contractors over the year for that.
Well, we only have one proposal, and that's from Joe Atkinson. And we all have a copy of that.
No, that's not, we was talking about previous years as to,
I
Yes,
think it was
years.
about the preservation, about
Yeah.
updating the preservation plan
yeah.
for the Bullet House.
Right, but that doesn't have anything to do with heating and cooling.
No,
Well, that's part of the project manager, the search for the project manager, but I'll make a note of that.
Oh, just to update the preservation plan is a good thing for
Yeah,
Rob Corey to have, or anybody else who's interested
In being a project.
in being a project manager. Okay, I get it.
yeah. Okay, so there have been, okay, so do we need, and the question was, do we need to get quotes for other project managers? And June is going to contact Rob Corey, which you have already, with regard to their interest in the jobs and costs. And then it just made a note that Rob was referred by Kate Enright
Yeah.
from HSH. Barry, Janet, and Ellie met with Rob and found him to be very knowledgeable. That was your words. All right, so Lucy will talk to Chris Kelly or Mickey Gibbons to provide an updated quote for the water leaking into the basement along the driveway side of the house. And I did contact him, never mind, I'll tell you later. And I did contact him, I'll tell you more about it. And then you had mentioned also maybe contact Carol De Oliveira.
Yeah.
Project manager who works for Brian Stevens.
Yeah.
The issue was raised, how the project management would be paid for, and your question was, can the CPA money be used as an extension of master planning? Heating and cooling, the small duct high velocity, SDHV. So 3 contractors were recommended by National Grid. Amanda Formica was taken up on her offer to have an engineer come look at the house to advise which system would be best for Bullet House, which was also free of charge. And that we did receive one quote for the SDHV from Joe Atkinson.
Yeah,
in the
it's
amount
not,
of
his
100
quote though wasn't for small duct,
it was
high
for-
velocity,
it
it
was
was,
for
it
foundation.
it was for his ducted system that's in the attic and the basement, right?
yeah,
That was it?
Yep, he would use the basement and the attic as his platform for the ducting, isn't that correct?
mm-hmm. He was gonna use more conventional ducting.
Yep, and
He didn't think that, he thought the noisiness of those other things wasn't good.
Oh, we did get that.
That's what he told us.
it was just a comment that he put out there when on one of his visits,
Yeah,
because he was there 2 or 3 times.
Yeah, and I think that was mentioned before.
Yeah.
Meaning his quote was for $131,900 for the ducting. Monday meeting started at 2:30, February 3rd, meeting with JV Mechanical to recommend feasibility of SDHD system. Barry, Janet, and Lucy to meet with them, and then an annual report prepared by June. Motion to adjourn at 4:21 p.m.
Sounds
the Monday
good.
meeting was with the other potential bidder,
Yeah,
or potential,
Yeah, that was
Proposal,
JV.
yeah.
JV
Dick-
Mechanical.
yeah,
And I made that meeting.
Yeah, it was me, and I was the only one who couldn't go, because I had a CT scan.
Sorry, Ellen.
Well, it's helpful for you to read that,
Yeah.
yeah, because that's our most recent,
Mhm.
meeting that had a lot of meat to it,
Yeah, Lucy, you did a good job.
yeah.
That was a lot of work.
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
it's okay, you
Yeah.
know. And I wish I could have done better, but I was just on drugs that just made me,
Yeah, you had to rest.
You need to get to different
Wrong
jobs, that's the
submission.
thing.
Yeah.
but anyways, so anyways, I'm feeling much better.
Good.
So, next.
Okay, so when you send them out, we'll just wait till next time to approve those.
Yeah.
If that's okay with everyone.
That would be
But I
Fine with
think,
me.
I think whatever feedback we've given you, I think it'll be fine
Yeah.
to, to make any changes.
All right.
Okay. I asked you in an email if you could write 2 sentences for February 3rd and for the 17th. And those were site visits. The 17th was Rob Corey, and just to help, well, for that one, Lucy and I weren't there, so that's why I'm asking you.
The
And for-
third was Rob Corey.
No,
the third
January-
was JV, with you and I and
Yeah,
Janet,
Janet.
and then,
and Lucy too, I think.
No, I was not there for Rob Corey.
No, I know that you and I, but for JV you were there.
JV, yeah.
So the one that you need notes for is the 3rd?
No,
I asked
I'm
Barry
sorry.
to do January 17, which is
Oh,
Rob
17.
Corey,
17.
and February 3rd, which is JV Mechanical. Because they're simple, we just have to record that we were there,
Okay.
and just maybe a
Yeah,
sentence.
yeah.
Rob
I-
Corey, there were 4 of us there.
I wasn't there.
You
No,
were-
Rob Corey, there were 3 of you.
3 of us, okay.
Lucy and I couldn't make it.
And there was 3 of us for the JV.
You know,
You sure there weren't 4 of you?
Same 3?
For JV, there were 4 of us,
Oh,
because I
there were
was
four-
there.
you were there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have, for some reason, I decided to write down some notes so that I would remember for February 3rd.
Yeah.
So I have that if you want it.
Okay.
I just made copies for everybody, but I
Yeah.
don't, it's not official, so it maybe isn't good to
No.
bring it out.
I mean, an awful lot
I
of it
think
is
you
just to
wanna
say
be
that we
the
met with the person that we were supposed to, and
I think we'll leave it up to Barry, and then if
Discussed
he
it.
wants your,
Yeah, you probably
Yeah.
don't need it. You,
He made the comment too about the noise. He said he has that in his own house.
yes.
And he said when he's
The
sitting
noise.
watching television and it goes on, he has to turn up the television.
You know,
But he didn't think it was that big a deal. But he also recommended for the back of the house, he didn't think
Yeah.
the high duct,
Small duct.
the small duct high velocity system was going to work well in the back. So he was suggesting, I would say ancillary, electric heating units.
Like a baseboard.
in the annex.
yeah.
In the back of the house.
And that would be just, if you were gonna use it and it would felt a little chilly, you could kick it up.
And if no one was there, they wouldn't run.
Yeah, you leave it off
Yeah.
Yeah.
otherwise.
But that adds to the cost, because that's one thing that has been, that I've always heard, is that with, mini splits, you have to have some kind of a backup.
I think these are baseboard.
These aren't really backup, these are additional, so that, for the
additional, but-
comfort level.
Yeah,
Because he thought that the way the house was configured, you wouldn't get
Enough out there.
enough out there. So he was suggesting to run electric baseboard heating units in the annex, particularly if we were going to have meeting
Yeah.
space back there for kids and stuff.
but
is that what you meant by, when he, I noticed when I jotted down some notes for myself, heating on the wall, did he mean the baseboard?
The
He was talking
baseboard.
about the baseboard.
Okay,
I will say that.
He said upstairs was perfect and that it would work well up there.
Yeah,
well, I think it was
again,
access,
coming from the attic with
Yeah.
it.
it was access to the cellar, because there's no basement under that part of the house, and that was the problem. And I think we have to be careful, because that would add additional cost, in addition to the SDHV and doing all.
Well, I will say, though, that at our place that we had in Ossipee, we had baseboard electric. And it's very fast. It heats up quickly, and when you don't want it, it goes away. So the actual, my feeling is the actual cost, maybe the installation,
That's what I mean.
yeah, but the actual use of it would be less.
Minimal.
Yeah, it would be less expensive.
You're not paying for it unless you're
Right,
there.
yeah, because it's so it's fast.
I mean,
Yeah.
you're not gonna turn it on every time you're in the building.
No.
But if you have a group in that room, you might decide you need to. and therefore it might be on for 2 hours in a month.
Mhm.
And the rest of the time, it wouldn't be on at all.
Yeah.
So I don't see it as a big
So
problem.
what brings heat into the, what brings heat into the Bullard House if,
Well,
Electricity.
the basement, there's ducting in the basement.
okay, so the ducting will be
But-
constant,
But he
the-
didn't think it would be adequate for the rear.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, because
got
you
it.
can't get the ducting in there
Yeah,
as
Yeah,
much as.
it won't,
He also,
yeah.
yeah, the upstairs was fine, as you mentioned, Ellie, but the downstairs is definitely not as easily done.
Figured out, yeah.
And he probably needed in the bathroom also.
Yeah, well, right,
He was also talking about tearing up floors in order to put stuff in,
Mm-hmm.
which did not set well with me, but
well, you just have to listen
yep,
at the beginning,
and that's what we're doing.
yeah. To follow the agenda, the next thing we should remember is the budget. I was supposed to meet with finance on the 5th, but I didn't feel well enough to do it. So they rescheduled it to the 26th. So I'm, aside from just reviewing quickly what we're asking for, does anybody want to go with me or instead of me? It's at night, and it's here in this building.
Oh, you've got to do it because you're the one that's informed, so.
Can two of us go?
Yes.
I don't mind going, but don't count on me to get everything right. I'm not
Alright.
good at this.
It would be lovely to have another person.
And
yeah.
I better look on my calendar first, but,
It would be the 26th, which is, whatever.
okay, let me
Is
just
that a
make sure
Tuesday?
I'm not already booked.
So you'll be
Probably
meeting with
Tuesday or
the
Wednesday.
finance committee?
26th, February 26th, I can do it.
Okay.
All right. And when
Um,
is that meeting?
Well, I don't know the exact time that we're
Okay.
supposed to appear, but they will let me know.
Okay,
Just quickly, we are asking, as usual, for our $100 for advertising in case we have a
Yeah,
A hearing.
public hearing.
We are asking for supplies, which is our regular amount in the last couple of years, which is $515. We have been budgeted in the last couple of years for $615, so that takes care of
Yeah.
what we normally ask
The
for.
regular budget, yeah.
Now, when I had my conversation with one of the Mackenzies, Paul Mackenzie, and a little bit with Travis Mackenzie, they're CM geeks, and they do the IT for the town. So my suggestion from Kristen was to talk to them, which I did way back in November. And they would install a Dell desktop computer, set it up for us for $1,800.
Is that in the curatorial building?
That would be in the curatorial building, yeah. And the issue about, see, what we use it for now, because, is only for.
I'm sorry, what's this, what, Dell?
It's a Dell, yep, it's a Dell desktop computer with a monitor and Office standard. That costs $1,500, and then they charge a setup fee of $300.
Okay.
I probably should give them a call and make sure that quote still stands. I mean, they didn't really tell me it wouldn't, but, and they understand that it's not till May that we're sanctioned. So maybe,
Well, it's actually July, right?
well, the
You
town
can't do it
meeting,
until the new fiscal year.
That's right.
well,
You
to
can't
buy
spend
the,
it till
yeah,
July.
yeah, the money isn't available till then. But we would know in May whether or not we had
We
it.
could go ahead with it, yeah.
Yeah. So, go ahead.
I'm just jumping in with something different, so.
Oh, all right.
So that would be to replace the computer that you're working with, Barry?
Yep, the 2007 Vista with a modern,
You can't say that we're
we haven't
We
gotten our
haven't-
money out of it.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
So we haven't utilized it
It doesn't owe
to
us
the full.
anything, does it?
Yeah, no, that's right.
Now, the other thing that we're, beyond that is we have the work that Martin is doing for us with the digital organization, and it's a whole bunch of material, and, that won't work on the present computer.
No. Okay. So will you have to?
I tried it the other day.
So you'll
Um,
also have to update Past Perfect then?
Yeah, that,
Yes, and that has to be too.
yeah. Apparently, I did call Past Perfect.
Mm-hmm.
What we have is version 4, and they would, because we're offline, if we're still offline, they would have to give us a USB and talk the conversion or whatever you want, but it doesn't cost anything.
Good. So one thing that you want to look into, and I had looked into this too, is that Past Perfect can actually be something that can be linked into a website. So with all the work that Barry's been doing, some of that could be, it could be part of our website. Could be included in it.
Okay.
So that's something to think about. And that would take, that would kind of, with all the work, it would be
But
really.
that's gonna require an internet connection, so that would have to be accomplished too.
And there
Or
was no
to
internet.
transfer the information.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Well,
I don't know, just put it on a hard drive
I guess you could.
and enter it, wouldn't you?
We could figure something out, talk to
Yeah.
them, but,
The town
There's no-
hall has internet connection, right?
yeah.
But the curatorial building does not.
But we should be able to piggyback on that. We have conduit underground to the town hall,
Uh-huh.
so.
If we want it, we should be able to access
To
it.
get it, yeah.
So that's,
So is there there's no cost to update Past Perfect?
no, let me see what I wrote here. We need an upgrade to version 5, which requires a Windows 11. Since we are offline in the curatorial building where our desktop lives, Past Perfect would send us a USB and talk us through the installation, but there was no cost. But I could make sure, I could try to call them again. They were very nice.
Yeah.
Because
They-
longer term, I don't know whether that's gonna be where we want that. I always intended that that stuff would be in the bullet house and the storage building would be storage. So that's another question at some future time to deal with,
Yeah, to move it, yeah.
yeah.
Well, I don't think there'd be any problem. It's a wireless,
Mm-hmm.
Well, we'd have to decide what to do when the time came.
yeah. Okay, so hopefully Janet can come along, which is good. And are there any other questions about the budget? Or do you think I need to do anything else?
I think it's fairly straightforward.
Yeah, it's CM Geeks, they work for the town.
We have more than a 10-year-old PC that,
Yeah,
Is
That
that what their
needs to
name
be
is, CM
upgraded.
Geeks?
CM Geeks, yeah.
Susan, did you want to do more with the budget before? I
No,
say-
unless
okay.
you guys have questions.
Do you think that's enough, $615?
Well, they won't, they're saying don't ask for any more. We're asking, so that part is level with the last year.
Yep, okay.
And as far as our clothing collection goes, if that passes at town meeting, I have built into that proposal money for supplies that she will advocate for.
Okay.
So,
so acid-free
Right,
boxes and.
yeah, and we still have a $215 in our budget this year
that we haven't
We
spent.
spent a lot for those 2 terabyte things,
Mhm.
but we should think about what we want to spend that on, because last year we didn't spend all our money,
No, we didn't.
and we should have.
I
Do-
love us.
Well, if we don't, then they'll
Everything I
take
say.
some away, right?
Well, you know, would it make any sense to send out some kind of, because not everybody reads the newsletter. Not everyone in town gets the newsletter. Would it make sense to, update people with what's been going on with Bullard House? And just,
What, at Finance Committee?
no, you've got $200, we've got $200 to spend. I think you could send out some information out to the town.
You mean use it for a mailing?
Yeah,
$200 won't pay for it.
Yeah, we'd have to come up with some other
Mailings
money.
is very expensive.
If it's a town-wide thing. But,
Is there any other way of getting the word out without
well, we
spending
can,
the money?
we can
Is there-
have an open meeting and invite the public. I mean, really invite the public and talk to them.
yeah, because if you send out a card, cards are less expensive than a letter. The postage for a card is much less. So
I
anyway, that's a
wasn't
thought.
even thinking of, there are ways, there are free, we can,
And you can also do Zoom. You could do, just have a Zoom meeting, so people don't actually have to be in the building with us, but can.
that's, yeah, if you're willing to bring people forward so they can speak. It's a little, with a big crowd, it's a little unwieldy.
So anyways, it's just a thought.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
nothing, I don't think we need to make any decisions on it, it's just a thought.
They will have our annual report. Are we allowed to use that annual report? Which is really a lot of information about the Bullard House.
Well, I've got it on the website.
Our brand new one,
Not the new one, I haven't put it up yet.
right.
It'll go up with the whole town report when the
Yeah,
time, when it comes out.
Yeah,
We also need,
maybe that's something that we should say, is that we hope they'll read that report and ask us questions about it
yeah.
at the town meeting.
We have to update our CPA for our project
Yeah.
update, so that can go in it too. About the progress on the Bullard House.
Okay.
Oh, the Bullet House money,
Yeah. I forget.
In order to have an organized presentation, it's gonna take some preparation. We've got so many things juggling that
But
in
this
order
is-
to present to the public, we really gotta have the ducks in line.
Yeah, well, it's a thought, it's just a thought, something we can think about for the
Mhm.
future, but not, I don't think we wanna work on it right now. Just,
Yeah,
but there, we'll figure something out.
but we do wanna deal with the money so that we get it spent.
Yeah.
Right.
It's not that there aren't things to spend it on,
Mhm.
but,
I was gonna say, we've got lots of needs, so.
yeah.
Well, you could use it for a printer.
Well, that's another thing.
Um,
We need a printer.
We have to spend it by the end of June, right?
We have to spend it by the end of June.
And by then, we would know whether they,
Yeah,
we would know whether our request has been approved,
Yeah.
at town
Yeah.
meeting, we'd know.
Has been approved. Is there any possibility of having a room here, like a tiny little room here somewhere where, we could use, instead of having everything at
Curatorial building.
curatorial? I know.
no,
Well,
we do
that,
not wanna have to go somewhere else to do this stuff.
Right. Well,
When we're putting stuff
but you'd
in-
have USB to, you would have actually Wi-Fi. or
No,
something
that
like
isn't the problem. The problem is that when you're working with stuff and putting it in the computer, sometimes you need to go get the stuff and have it in hand in order to deal with the description or whatever else. And, I mean, we were entering some of the clothing that we've had for years in the computer, which had never been done. And I was running off to get the record of one of our, of a previous show where we had a better description of the item to put it in the, I mean, you just keep running, I mean, you're using the files and the objects themselves when you're doing it.
That's sort of
Well,
this,
you know, we have an empty building that's not getting used, and that's the Bullard House. And at some point soon, we hope, we will have to start having stuff in there that's gonna be in the way of things. But right now, is there any way that we could just even, I suppose
I
we're
don't-
putting too much money into heating,
I don't think that would be a good idea.
but I don't mean to bring stuff into it, I mean to have, well, maybe it would have to end up bringing stuff into it. But it just seems too bad we're going years here with this empty building, and
Well,
we
if-
don't have space to do things, and,
Well,
Yeah,
they-
it's very frustrating that
Yeah.
we spend all that time cleaning it out so that nothing happens.
right, and I wondered if, yeah, I mean, we don't wanna spend a lot more money on heat, that's the problem, so.
Yeah, and
Uh,
we'd be freezing. We'd have to have a little.
Oh, no, we'd have to have. we'd have to
Igloo or
have heat
something in there.
yeah.
I mean, we don't have a problem with
we just,
having the computer in the curatorial building,
Yeah,
but I don't wanna get so we have to have another place to go
Another
to do
space.
stuff. I mean,
Yeah.
No.
it just is,
Point made and taken.
yeah.
okay.
Well, to your point, I spent $150 on my new printer, which is a
Yeah.
basic laser
Yeah.
jacket that has copy.
Yeah.
So that would
Yeah.
be,
Does
Like
it have
$200
color
would cover.
color capability?
no,
Black?
because I don't need any,
Yeah.
it's far more problematic when you
Yeah.
have color.
Yeah.
Your basic laser jet is pretty
Yeah,
maintenance-free.
yeah,
If you have the little cartridges, then you have to
Well,
clean them.
yeah, my EcoTank, my Epson EcoTank is color, of course.
I have one of those too, and it really is nice.
Yeah, and it didn't cost more than, well, even if it costs a little more than 200, we do have a donation account we could pull $50 from if we had to.
Yeah.
But I think, to me, that's the best use of that extra money.
it could well be.
Mm-hmm.
And with the photo stuff that we're now doing, it becomes more important to be able to do that. And among the things that Martin is including in all this is the stuff that Eddie has scanned out of Eddie Hoffman's big, huge photo collection for us. And so those things are also in part of that. So any of those images we would be able to print if we needed to have a print or something. So it really is moving to the point where we really need a printer again up there.
So, yeah, and paper also.
Well, yeah,
Additional-
there's
But then,
that's true, you need photo paper and regular paper. And,
but,
well, next year we would have to, the next time around, we need to build in some money for printing. But that's getting a little ahead of ourselves right now.
We
Okay,
have to get the
have to
PC
get the,
first.
yeah, we have to
And
get,
we're also at a point where we could use some more boxes. Not so much the enormous ones, but the smaller boxes about like Eddie. We've kind of used up most of those, and there's always need for more.
well, we could, yeah, they're expensive.
anyways,
Okay, so,
thoughts for the future.
all right, so, the Bullard House, the project management, I was a little concerned because I wasn't hearing back from Rob Corey, but apparently he was on vacation. and trying to catch up this week. He did, what I need him for right now is to give us a fee structure, because when I reached out to Maureen on Monday, Maureen is the administrator for CPAC.
Yeah.
What's her last name?
I told her, I said, can you move on this a little more quickly, because we don't have funding unless CPA can do
Cover.
this, and if not, then I have to find it somewhere else. So she got back to me, and I sent her our financial report from January that is no different now, so it's up to date. And she asked for a fee, how much money are we talking about? And of course, I don't know. So Rob Corey did get back to me, and he said that he would give us a framework, a fee schedule.
Did you just recently hear from him, like the last day or two?
Yes,
Yeah, okay.
yes,
'Cause I was gonna
yesterday.
say.
Yep, yeah, because I told you I was concerned
Mhm.
because I hadn't heard from him. And I thought, well, maybe he doesn't really want to work with us.
Well, I have to say, he was very nice and he was very knowledgeable, but I'm thinking that the Bullard House is a little
Small.
small for him. He was talking about some of the projects that he had done in Newport and in Cambridge, and they were big, fancy, very showy projects, and the Bullard House is
Tiny.
It's pretty small, yeah. Small budget, small building.
Well, you know, it may.
He thought it was interesting, though.
Mhm.
Who gets to say how big or small, how much money, wants?
Well, no, I'm not sure that he was particularly interested in it
Yeah.
from a business perspective. It's not going to grow his resume.
Something was written, and that's what I was looking for. Something was written that made it sound more like he was interested, and I don't know why, but you must have read it, because you guys have read everything that I've read.
I don't think, I didn't get it from reading. I
I
got
don't
it from
think so.
talking to him,
Yeah.
that he thought it was interesting, but it's not,
Whether he would work with us, we don't know.
it's not typical of the projects that
Yeah.
he's worked on.
Did
He
we
was
talk to?
conversant with all the right things
He was, and he
in
was,
terms of preservation and all that.
he was very interested in talking to us about it.
I think the thing that he liked was that my sense was he liked the historical aspect of it.
Well-
But that was more, that could be a hobby. That
No,
could
I
not
think
necessarily be
that's
what
in
he-
his career. I mean,
Yeah,
he has,
I mean, if that's what they do, he does have
Yeah,
historical.
that's the Newport.
he
and the
actually
Cambridge,
has
yeah.
worked.
We need, I don't know, we still need to crystallize better what it is we want from project management. I mean,
I agree with you, Barry.
I guess the piece of the pie, we go back to Dan, when we were working with the architect from Mogul, Dan Barton, he gave us more than we really were looking for. He was planning the route that people would take through the house to look at exhibits and stuff, and I'm like,
Well, we're gonna have to do that, so
well,
we probably want to
it
make sure
isn't,
we do that.
it isn't that we've never
Well, we-
considered those kinds
Yeah,
of things,
yeah,
but what,
yeah.
that isn't what we needed him for.
Yeah.
And he's spending time on things like that I don't want that from him. Those are things we can handle fine. The thing that we needed was the pieces that we can't do, and that to make sure we keep it in sequence, and that we keep
It's the level.
and that we give the town administrator more confidence in the project, because there's somebody that she feels can professionally make sure we don't go
Yeah,
off the
it's the
rails.
coordination of all the pieces,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, and it's not so much, we need to start planning from scratch again. And now, the exercise we did with Dan was very helpful in that we considered a number of things, and we did change some of our ideas as a result. But, but how much, look at the time we spent on some of it that I think was moderately wasted. But,
I'd have to go back and look at it before I would agree to that.
yeah,
I would have to look back at it, because I think, it's hard when you're in the process. It's hard to know exactly which things should come next. And I
Oh,
think
yeah.
he was trying to build a foundation
yeah.
that covered a lot of the bases that we
Mhm.
need to cover. So, and have covered.
Made sure the bases were covered.
Yeah, so
Well-
I'm not so sure that
And that is a part of what we need.
yeah.
I think we need to ask Lucy what she learned from Gibkel.
Okay, so I talked to Mickey about that. He's willing to go ahead with the project of, the base, making sure that the water's not running into the basement anymore. He plans he said, when do you expect to do that? And he said, well, it would probably be in March at some, maybe the end of March, April. So I haven't received anything more from him, but I also asked him if he would be interested in doing some project management for that,
Oh, yeah.
because I think we're going, and Mary, I have to agree with you, because someone who is doing building, and I've seen it because I've had my house redone, and there is a procedure, and I know enough people who've had it done. There's a procedure that you follow, and if you're in that business, you know what needs to come next, and that's what you are prepared to do. And I think for us to spend a tremendous amount, or I think what I saw was like $165 per hour for a project manager. I think that's a lot, because anybody, I'm looking at it from my perspective. I've always gone and tried to save, find what I can get, the best for what I can get for my money. And I think that we need to do that too, because we don't have unlimited funds,
That's for sure.
and we don't know exactly where the project management would come from. So I would be inclined to see if we can get some, oh gosh, can we have volunteers? I don't know anymore.
No.
But at least advice from some people, and I think that we could do that.
Right, but what we need, we have had a lot of advice, and really what it's done is make us uncertain
Go in a
and
different direction some of the time.
Yeah.
I guess I can just stop at the word uncertain, and that slows us down.
Yeah, but what, if we were taught to talk to someone that could actually do the work.
We need to put our trust in somebody,
We do,
right, and
we do.
as for management.
Yeah, and I think that,
And I'm concerned that with Gibkel, certainly this isolated project in the northeast corner of the building, that we don't have to think about that as a conflict of interest should they do project management. But down the road, if we wanted to consider them as for project management, we can't have them do the work as well.
well, I think one of the things that Kristen was nervous about was making sure that we were getting all of the projects, not just the Bullard House, but the 1870 Town Hall and the complete streets and that syncing together, so that we're not doing something and then having to tear it up because
But
another
that's
project
slowing
is
us
going to
down as
interfere.
well.
It is, but I think that's one of her biggest concerns that we have to address.
Apparently the feedback I got for doing the project in the northeast corner was that it didn't really interfere with the bigger
anything else.
drainage issues. Does everyone agree with that? Should that question be asked again?
No, I
No.
think that we've received several opinions that can be a standalone.
Now, if we want to go forward with that, it has to go, we need It needs to go out to bid.
No, it doesn't.
It-
Because
It's not over 10,000.
that's what he said. He said that he understands that,
What was the original quote he gave us?
it was under 10,000. It was 9,000 something.
And,
And he said now that he's taking out part of, taking out the drainage,
Yeah, we're taking out the French drain
that
thing.
it would be
it
less.
would be less.
So, no,
What about the prevailing wage issue?
that's
I
already.
know that you said he had that figured out.
Yeah.
But does that have to be presented? Do you have to show how you're taking care of the prevailing wage? Not, you don't have to, if it's under
Have
10.
have we gotten any of that from any of the other
Well,
contractors?
we've not gone over 10 grand, except for our sills, but that went out to bid. And Margaret took care of that.
That went out to bid, right.
Yeah,
So that's the only one that I know of that, the other things were small that Walhuter did. They were all under 10. And,
did they have to provide prevailing wage information?
well, Tim was a sole proprietor.
Well, we'll find out. I think that, he's,
When we're ready to let the job,
we'll find out.
she has to get the stuff from the state about what prevailing wage is at that time, and then
Yeah.
they've got to work that out.
Yeah,
Um,
because that changes.
yes,
Well,
it does.
if they are considering that they would be able to do the work by the end of March or April, we need to move now.
Remind me, this is gonna sound babyish, but remind me what tasks are included in this particular
It would be-
undertaking.
It would be digging up the side of the building, okay, on the northeast corner, to find out what the problems are, to put in, what is the hydraulic,
How bad the
Cement,
foundation is
yeah.
there, yeah.
to determine that, to add hydraulic cement to the outside and put a membrane around it so that the
Seal
water
the whole
does,
thing.
yeah, so that it does not, and that's in the bid, that's clearly, I could send you a copy of that
But they're
bid.
not gonna be dealing with those walls, underground walls there, right?
Well,
Yes, they
Well,
will, just
yeah.
that little bit, just that little
Yeah.
area.
I mean, the ones out from the,
Our
No.
feature, the
They'll be
feature.
working between them,
yeah.
yeah,
yeah.
and then, of course, you want some time to be able to.
Yeah, we
do
want to
that.
make sure we can document whatever
You know,
they uncover.
it occurred to me, do you think that could have been an entrance into the cellar?
Did they do that
I
back
don't
then?
know.
Hmm.
They might have, I would guess that they might have.
I have no idea what could have been there.
Well, if Barry
It's just-
doesn't know, no one knows.
It's just the whole thing is conjecture.
Yeah,
And yet those, the front wall of the foundation just continues out that way. And the wall coming from under the big heart support continues out there. And in the same style as it is in the building, so it was built the same time, apparently.
yeah,
And exactly what was there, we don't know. There's a couple of notches in the framing that indicates there was something more going out from there. Probably set down lower than the first floor of the main house.
Mhm.
But beyond that, we just don't know what it was.
that's too bad.
Can you just remind me, I missed this, digging the the northeast corner, then there was, I got as far as how, and that's all I got down. And then the third thing was hydraulic cement and membrane. What was the second thing that was part of this?
Well, all of that is about sealing up the
Okay, so I caught it by what I've.
The
written
present
here.
stone
Okay.
wall under that edge of the house was really very rubbly. They just
Yeah,
threw some stuff in there and made it into a wall, and it's not, there's spaces in it and so forth. So this is to get that all sealed up
Closed
in a
in, yeah.
decent fashion so that it'll keep the water out of there.
yeah. Thank you.
And in the process, then when they refill, we'll be grading a little bit, which will again avoid having the water
Yeah.
come in
We
there.
want the
Go
back,
down.
we want the backfill to be
Down rather than
appropriate
in.
this time.
To be, yeah, an appropriate material so
yeah.
that it will, yeah,
Those
Getting
are-
that sinkhole taken
Yeah.
care of and
yeah.
getting that stone step kind of
The stone step has
re-stabilized,
gotta come
right?
back up, yeah. The bottom step has gotta come back up.
It looks like it's trying to
That's dropped
sink
some,
into the sinkhole.
yeah.
Yeah.
So there's some adjustments to that stuff. that'll-
So the entire length, are you saying that the entire length of that wall, or that, where the pipe comes into the house is backfilled with the
Yeah.
wrong kind of material? wrong kind of-
Well, it's backfilled with material that allowed this all to happen. I think dealing with the part that they plan to should be enough to make that neutral.
Yeah, okay. That would be good, okay.
Um,
What I'd like to do is to get in touch with them again and see if they could come meet with us, at another time.
And a lot of it is that the ultimate final surface doesn't have the
This way.
depression,
Yeah,
and that should take care of it too.
It's really three things. One is to omit the French drain construction,
mm-hmm,
to allow a little time for documentation once that area is exposed. And then backfilling, I wanted to make sure that the backfill was appropriate.
Yeah,
Those are the things that I
yeah,
earmarked. And Lucy is right. Their original bid was their estimate was 9,300. So I don't know,
are the numbers on the different parts of it?
not the one I have.
Okay,
Oh, yes, there is, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
1925 for the French drain.
yeah,
So we,
so if you take that off it, you've got a little bit of wiggle room and keeping it under 10,000.
yeah, and then you can make, if need be, if the prevailing wage has gone up, then that can be added,
Yeah,
used for that.
So I guess my question, because we had a lot of back and forth with all the requirements, the actual paper requirements, maybe we could do a little better this time. It's not us necessarily, but it's a combination of Kristen and us and Gibkel,
Mm.
because they weren't.
the town requirements are different from if
They
it's a
really,
private job.
Mickey Gibbons told me he didn't think, because it was just part of a roof, he didn't think that he needed to pull a permit. I mean, that's kind of lame, I'm sorry.
Well, he knew that we had to do that.
And so
That
it's
was
little
part
things
of
like
it.
that I would hope we don't have to face again,
Yeah,
because it was really, I don't need it.
It was painful.
Yeah, well,
the roof, he didn't think he needed a permit for?
he didn't pull a permit for the roof.
yeah,
Always have to pull a permit for roof.
yeah, you do. Anyways, there was an oversight, and that's one of the things that we'll have to be on top of.
So, if we could do a better job with making sure that's
Yep.
better attended to.
Yeah, well, I guess we now know to ask the questions up front, right?
Yeah,
Because I was not too happy to be accused of not communicating. Because if there's one thing I try to do with all of you,
Yeah.
is let you know what's going on. There's not one day that goes by where I'm not talking to somebody or writing an email to somebody on our behalf. And I don't mind doing it. I just don't want to be seen as being unconscientious. Anyway,
So where do we go now?
so now our next thing is, so we have those two. I did ask Carol de Oliveira if she could give me a typical project management fees or some kind of number. Just give me a number that is in the ballpark, and she promised to get back to me, but she didn't.
Kind of so we have an expectation.
Yeah, I mean, because I can't get back to Maureen without some numbers. She needs that in order to, I guess, to talk to Stuart. Stuart Saginaw is the CPAC, is the coalition.
He's the
person.
guru who would tell us if it's
Yeah, if we
acceptable
can
to
use it.
spend the money
right.
that way, yeah.
So who's Maureen? Is she
Maureen is the administrator for CPAC.
for,
CPA,
I know,
our CPA.
yours, okay, what's her last name?
Adema, A-D-E-M-A.
Okay.
Yeah.
So she's from Berlin or
No,
No.
she's from Littleton.
She
Littleton, okay.
works for the
I know her.
CPAC committee.
Yeah, I know her because she
Okay.
worked in the assessor's office.
Okay.
And she resigned from that, but she kept this other job, which was the original job she had here, which was to administer the CPAC. Okay,
I'm gonna have Janet do the minutes from now on.
You know, I am a
You miss
fish-
it, I know, I can tell.
My problem is that I'm a fish out of water with 9/10 of what you guys talk about. And, you know, it's not that I
That's
don't
okay.
understand historic stuff. It's just that that's not what we're doing. We're doing the engineering and stuff like that.
Now you're right on it.
And I feel, sometimes I feel as though I should give up my spot to somebody who really understands this. But then I think, but this isn't the whole picture
Yeah.
of what we're
I
trying to do.
think we need, well, that's another discussion. But,
No, it-
but
it-
don't, I would say to you, Janet, don't worry about it. Absorb what you can.
Yeah, yeah.
And if
Yeah.
you're involved in some aspect of it, we'll make sure that you have the full picture. And
Well,
don't, you know,
thank you. And,
yeah.
and you know, the thing is, there are parts of historic work that I know something about, and particularly
sure.
the presentation to people. And
Well-
but we're not doing that part.
No,
so I
unfortunately,
But-
we're
Yeah, but
doing
we
this.
have a project hopefully coming up this summer, which will be the
Yes,
clothing, and I think you'd be
yes.
very valuable
Yeah.
there.
You know
One-
what,
But
one
Janet?
of
give
the
me a nudge
things-
if it's time to bring someone else
No,
in.
Janet, you could actually be working on that in the background.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, and even though we're not doing things, it's the planning of it.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
you know, that's your strength. You know, that's where the
Well, I
rest
don't
of
know.
us are
Thank
just
you.
gonna
God
go
bless you.
back and say, I don't know.
One of the things,
You know, that
when
would
we
be-
talk about having too many things in the air
Yeah.
and for the commission, one of the things is we could spin off interpretation stuff to another committee, which you might go and work with that committee
Yeah.
more
Yeah.
and find somebody that can help with some of this for the, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, any of us could spin off into another department or
Mm-hmm.
work with, I mean, I'm doing it all the time, working with the collection as
Right,
another whole
right.
aspect of it.
Yeah, so
But,
that,
that's what I see happening as we proceed, is that we'll divide up a little bit in order for certain things to get more attention that need it,
Yeah.
than they'll ever get on this table.
Yeah.
you know, and I think Barry's point is very well taken, because you're right, there's a lot of the engineering done.
Yeah.
But they're just coming in and saying, oh, we'll do this, or we'll do this, or we'll do that, and we'll do this. But what we also need is the vision of what it will look like.
Oh, yeah.
And what, you know, and the plans that, you know, you might have some ideas that would change what the, you know, what some of the engineering are doing. Like, let's say the baseboard in the, you know, in the back part of the building, the annex. I mean, you might come up with an idea for, you know, how to display this, or how to set up the room so that it can be used as, you know, classroom or something like that. And that's the part that is needed too. And I believe that has to be incorporated into the vision beforehand.
Well, thank
You
you
know?
for reminding me that there's more to it than just this
Well, you know,
stuff we're doing right now. Yeah.
the annex that we had thought other things about for a while, but working with Dan, we realized that we need to use all the first floor space for active things with people. And the back of the house stuff needs to go upstairs where we can't have everybody go. And that changed the whole thing of how that annex is likely to be used. And then when we came up with this thing about the heating with this last guy that we talked to, throw in an electric heater in that room, because when you're using it for some things, you're just gonna maybe need that extra shot now and then. And so that's how those things start to fit into what you're doing
Right.
in another area, you know? So,
Good.
I see this as valid stuff.
Yeah.
And one of the things we could be doing on the side is planning that space as an interpretation space, and what would we wanna do with it in equipping it and so forth for that. So that when the time comes that we're ready to do it, we've already got a plan for it.
So it's all right if I kind of stay in the background a little
Oh,
bit
yeah.
right now
Yeah.
and
But
Sure.
report.
do planning and so forth?
But
Yeah.
I can see us
Yeah.
putting a small committee together to work on a couple of side projects like that.
Yeah, yeah.
To get them off of this table and get them so that they're really getting the attention they need.
And that, you know, that, working in conjunction with all
Yep.
this other stuff is perfect. So, that's,
You guys are great.
Okay, where are we on the
That's
Don't
agenda?
want to tell the truth, but you're
The
great.
next thing
That's what-
under
no.
Bullard House is heating and cooling. We've had 3 site visits. The first one has given us a proposal. Lucy, because of her connection with the building department, actually got some good information from Richard Hanks. He suggested that perhaps the 130,000 should have been more like 70 or 80,000.
yeah.
And also, we needed a breakdown of some of the costs that you could actually estimate, and that wasn't part of it. What I noticed with the insulation, I talked to Barry some about that. We don't want foam, what do you call it? Small,
Closed cell.
closed
Closed
cell foam in the attic.
No, you
We
don't.
don't want that. It obliterates the features up there. And it's not appropriate for the building. I mean, that's one of the places where we do have historic fabric,
Yeah,
and we don't want to obliterate that.
And which person was it that was,
Rob Corey.
No,
That
no,
was-
no. It was our first contractor, Joe Atkinson,
Joe.
Oh, right, Joe Atkinson.
Yeah.
who gave us, who's actually given us a proposal,
yes.
yeah.
okay? The second,
I would like to just add to
Okay.
that. Years ago, when I had Max Farrow, who's a well-known preservation architect, in to look at the place all that time ago, and we were through the house, and he put his head up in the attic, he says, "This is the best thing in the house," in terms of something that's not messed with too much and, you know, well-preserved and all that, was the attic. And bluntly, some of our discussions about having some kind of unit in the attic and stuff all over the place concern me a little in that regard. But darn sure, something like that insulation, forget it. We'd really be losing something that we shouldn't allow to happen. So, yeah, we have to get back to, one of the pieces that falls into this, and it's one of the things that's a confusion to all of us. We've had these 3 guys in to talk about, you know. what
Which
we
other
might
2
have.
are you naming?
we
This-
haven't named them yet.
Oh,
we-
okay,
Yeah,
okay.
but this is for the heating and cooling business. And they come up with apples and oranges. They suggest different things. And at some point, one has to get a disinterested person, professional, to determine what we want and what level and all of that. And then you make a bid spec, and then you find out what people will do with it. And if they don't all bid on the same basis, then they're not comparable.
Yeah.
And you find yourself going around in circles trying to sort it out and decide what to do. So one of the, and then, you know, if they've got a different plan for how to do it, then how do you compare their prices?
Yeah.
So there's a whole bunch of that involved. We ran into that when we were dealing with that the mini split in the building up back. And somebody wasn't happy with what we had for a proposal, and they wanted, and the next thing you know, we had a contractor making a different proposal. And it's like, we had an engineer that worked with the architect that planned the building, and we should stick with that. Because he was working for the architect and for us, and not for somebody
And
that was
which
trying to sell
person-
it to us.
Which person was that?
This was when we were doing the mini split heat and cool for the back building.
Okay.
And, but the point is, we had the specs that had been developed that way, and we kind of ran around in a circle because somebody wanted to do something different. And you gotta stick to the things that you've got if it's appropriate. I really think that we've studied this thing a bit, but we haven't come to the point where we can conclude what we really want for a system. And then that has to be actually worked out in specifications by somebody who's not trying to sell it to us.
Well, I think we went the right way to go to the,
We did what National
We-
Grid suggested,
yeah.
Yeah,
but they,
But we also went with the Energy Commission first, right, and got,
yeah.
well,
their
that's what I want
input.
to talk to you
Yeah.
about.
Can I ask one question about Victor?
Victor, yeah?
Have we talked about Victor? I can't
No.
remember.
Not yet.
Oh,
No.
okay. I
No.
I made some notes and I
Well,
thought, did
Yeah.
I?
Yeah, I'll back up here.
Okay.
We've talked about Joe's proposal, and Barry's mentioned the need for an independent. The second contractor that came was Morris Mechanical. That was Phil Latini, and he's from Clinton. And he isn't interested in determining what kind of system. He would bid when the time came, with whatever had been arrived at.
Yeah.
So that's totally different from Joe. And then the third contractor is JV Mechanical, and he looked, because we had sent him the small duct high velocity printout, he was trying to consider that as a possibility, and Barry has talked to us some today, and no, Lucy, I think, too.
Both of us.
Yeah,
Yeah.
both of you have talked to us about the feedback from that meeting, and
Which was,
which was
basically,
that was
Which
where
was-
he liked the upstairs
yeah,
because he could access it through the attic.
Yeah.
And he recommended the electric baseboards in the annex, in the back of the house.
I actually took notes on that because I realized I wasn't understanding, so I,
Yes.
but,
Yeah,
which
you
I
were
can
writing
give you
stuff
if you
down
want.
about it.
Yeah, but,
anything in addition to, he also gave two next steps.
He did say that, yes, he would have someone come in and, because he did this for free, but he would have one of his people come in and do the whole, do a
He was
proposal.
He would come back with two people.
Yeah.
One of whom was the one that does his ductwork
Yeah.
stuff. And the other of whom was a representative of the company, the manufacturer. And
Was
he
that
would come with
Space-
them and
Space
start
something?
working
I
on
don't know.
actually making a plan for how to do it. So that's another way to go. The problem is that even if you do that, then you don't have a disinterested person designing it for you.
one of the things that he was saying, who was with me that day when we were,
All four of you, I was not there.
Yeah.
okay, the four of us were there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, I felt like he was, well, now I've lost that train of thought. I mean, he was dealing with the details quite a bit,
Yes.
and need a lot of scanning to see
Well,
if
he-
there's anything that's worth my.
I mean, he did view it, I mean, what we're after is, I think, is something pretty simple, and that's, the system that will be used, and he did define that, I mean, he did, except for the noise issue,
Yeah.
he did think that the SDHV would work, plus
Yeah.
plus extra baseboards.
A
So
couple of
it was-
places that he thought we'd do something extra if we needed it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have
So
a-
my
oh,
concern, let me
Yeah, go ahead.
interject here. My concern is that he was giving us what we asked him for.
Yeah,
Not, and my question was, what is the best system for this?
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that's part that I'm not comfortable with yet. I don't feel like we have
We
an
don't know,
answer to that.
we don't know yet.
You know, we're saying, okay, you know, like, it's like, we want this, this is what we want. How
Well,
can you do it?
I,
And then he'll
I
do
gave
that.
all of them the attachment that Tim gave us.
Yeah.
Tim Wysocki gave us,
Yeah.
and I said, this has been presented to us. This isn't what we necessarily want.
And I think
But
that
I
they're
th-
just going by what we gave them and not,
Yeah,
Well,
I felt
did
that way
ask,
about.
Well,
Victor, and he did say that he thought that what we were going after was reasonable.
yeah.
he did, but
Yeah.
that's what he's selling.
Well, not,
no, he can
wasn't
sell, he
selling
can
it.
sell any kind of electrical.
Yeah,
I mean, he doesn't,
He
the
said
small
that
duct
he
is
had
not-
it in his own house,
yeah.
and he liked it. He did
Except for
mention
the
that the
noise issue.
noise sometimes was annoying, and then he
He said low
also
Yeah.
ceilings would cut back
was
on
adding
that, though.
that the baseboard
He did.
heating in the back,
Yeah,
because the basement wasn't really conducive to putting it through, and as Barry said, he was talking about ripping up some floorboards in places, which, you know.
Just, I'll just scan a couple of things that he commented on. The ductless, anyway, mini splits. He said, oh, those are too showy, those might not integrate well with the house, which was interesting, because not everybody mentions that part.
Wow.
Cleaning out the cellar. He commented a lot on stuff that we would potentially have to do. He said cleaning out the cellar would open things up, moving things out, cleaning out boards. He could see using floor registers to circulate air.
yeah.
Old ductwork would need to go out of the house. Well, of course, we know that. Anyone could take out the ductwork. He said you guys could take out the ductwork. That raised a question with me. Are we allowed to do that on a
No.
project? No. Okay,
Did
so I mean, that was a nice thought of his, but I don't think he could get away with that. And clean out unnecessary things in the cellar, lots of boards. So, I mean, he struck me as somebody who, if we can do it, we'll do it. You know, as
Yeah.
opposed to, we're not allowed to do that, you know. Furnace entrance, clean out all extraneous materials before ductwork. He said structurally, the building looks typical for its age. Completing the project would be at least a year out. I don't know if he mentioned that to you guys.
We mentioned that we didn't think it would,
It would be like 2 years, because
yeah.
Yeah,
before they can do anything, we do have to clean out the cellar. We know that. That's
Mhm.
part, we know that. But we also have to put in the entryway.
Mhm.
And that, so here we are trying to discuss what we want for heating when we haven't done the base
well,
work.
we have to track, we can't,
We have to clean
we
up.
have to track a few things simultaneously.
we have to track them, so,
Yeah.
we have to decide what we want for heating. I mean, one of the pieces in the pie for me is, I already did the heating once. The Historical Society bought a new furnace for the place and made it work. And I'm not thrilled about throwing it out, to be blunt. And that I thought we'd spent most of the money we were gonna spend on that subject all those years ago. So, now we're talking about a wholly different system, and that may be where we go. But keep in mind, keeping the old system is not an impossibility.
Except that using fossil fuels
Yeah,
Mm.
is not on the state's agenda.
We won't get money for that.
No.
Yeah,
No
but we
one's
don't
gonna
need
be in
money
favor
for
of
that.
No one's gonna be in favor of that.
Yeah.
we've already got it. We don't have to get more.
Well, but we can get money for, yeah.
Okay, I was just trying to see if there's anything else.
I
that
wanted to
we-
mention a couple of things, because I misunderstood that National Grid would come and do a site visit. They will,
Yeah.
as an independent assessment. They will, but it's $200 an hour, inclusive of traveling.
And what are they gonna do for us?
they would look at our building and make a determination as to a system that would work best. Or maybe they would suggest more than one.
Is that the sort of disinterested party we're interested in?
The other, yeah, well, that's my question too. The other thing is that we can have a phone call based on the feedback we've gotten already from the 3 contractors. That doesn't cost anything.
With National Grid.
Yep, Amanda can sit in on that, and I've forgotten the name of the person that would lead that discussion.
At
That-
some point, we're gonna have to make a decision as who we're gonna listen to.
Oh, yeah,
I
but
mean,
that's
this could go on a very
that's just
long
what this
time.
is trying to head for.
Yeah, so that,
You know,
this made
And
me think
also
that might
at
be
this
it.
point, one more thing, also at this point, we need to meet with Tim Wysocki and go over
Yes.
all of what we've learned.
Yeah.
can
think
we
that's a good
have
idea.
someone who is knowledgeable about this? You know, people can throw anything at us and we can't tell the difference. Not to, you know.
Well, early on,
But we, you know, and we've mentioned this before, we don't have all the information that we need to make the correct decision. So, and I'm not suggesting anyone in particular, but I would like to have someone there who understands what they're talking about and can make, you know, ask questions that make, you know, that would give us more information. And I was hoping that we could find someone that could do
well,
that.
Tim would be one of those people.
Well, then.
Tim would be one of those people, and I think National Grid could be.
And they will be on,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the phone call doesn't cost anything. We just put out there it's a discussion. I'm not sure how we can manage this with all of us, but we could.
What do you mean, how we can manage with all of them?
A phone call.
Yeah.
Oh, the phone call.
A phone
Well,
call.
I could bow out because I don't know anything about engineering. I like to
but
be
that-
in on it.
We could
but-
have a conference call or,
Yeah.
Well, you should be able to do a Zoom call or a meeting of that sort.
well, she said phone call, which to me is not a Zoom meeting,
Mm.
but I can have that clarified.
I can ask.
Or you could pay the money and have someone come from National Grid. Early on, we raised this issue to Dan Barton, and he gave us a person who does, I can't remember the acronym, but it's an energy assessment for your building, and it costs several $1,000s. And I got in contact with this person, and I said, we just want to have heating and cooling examined. We don't,
Mm.
and I know that involves insulation.
I hope you don't mind, I'm not writing all of this down.
No, it's just,
we have
I
that
just
call.
want,
Um,
I just need to get out what our options here are. And so there's a phone call that's free that we would have to orchestrate.
Which one is that?
it's the National Grid.
National
With
Grid?
National Grid, there's actually paying for a site visit, which might be 3 hours. If you count traveling time, I'm not sure. So it's $200 an hour. I do think we need to meet with Tim soon
Mhm.
and go over all of this with him.
Why don't we put that first? Does that make sense to people?
I think it could.
Mhm. So
I-
before we start trying to get information from other sources.
I can send Tim an email and ask him, we could try to Zoom. I don't like to be in charge of Zooming. Maybe Barry would, I don't know.
With what?
Zooming.
I don't like to be in charge of the Zooming because I can't pay attention
Well, yeah,
Well,
but
you
that's, we can organize a Zoom meeting that we
with
hold.
Tim, or
on
we
the
can
town
ask him
thing.
if he would just want to meet with us.
I think
Yeah.
it would be nicer to meet in person, face to face, is
Yeah, that would be
sometimes
fine with me.
easier.
And we don't
You
have
know-
to meet in the cold because he's already been there.
Yeah.
I'm thinking that we need to, we need to figure out a couple of things that somehow we haven't managed to yet. We had, Atkinson came and measured the whole building and did a whole bunch of stuff like that.
We didn't ask him to do that.
No, we didn't ask him to do that, but he felt he had to in order to do the job, in order to make the plan. I did all of that stuff years and years ago. I have found that material somewhere, but I don't know where it is now. Some of those things we need to get in better order so that people can see it all in order to deal with
What
this.
kinds of things are you talking about?
Huh?
What kinds of things are you talking about? Where the insulation exists?
So that's one of the things that we
Alright.
need to do more of. And another is measurements of the space. How much space are we talking about? For each room and for the whole first floor and the whole second
Well,
floor?
we did
and
some
so
of that
forth.
measuring, didn't we?
Was
Isn't that
Tim
what
did
stuff
it?
that Tim did and measured?
Tim did that.
Yeah.
What?
Tim
Tim
Wheeler
Wheeler.
and Kevin Pond did
Yeah.
that.
they did
Yeah.
that.
And we have our existing
Where's
conditions.
that data?
Well, Tim has it.
It's in, I thought it was in Dropbox because I,
Yeah, it probably is.
all right, so.
No,
So
I
that-
don't
that-
think, I
that's
don't
another
think
piece.
Tim ever put it in the Dropbox.
Huh?
I don't think Tim ever put it in the
Tim
Dropbox.
Wheeler?
Right.
Well, I could talk with him to get it from him.
But we have, I can remember seeing those.
We have existing conditions drawings that we paid
Okay.
for. And there are not specific measurements in every room, but there's a scale.
Where are they?
There's a set in the curatorial building.
All right, you know, and so.
I have a set,
All right.
and there's a
Very-
third set, and those might be in the Bullard
I
House.
think that
Have
we
we
have-
provided that stuff to these people that we've been asking to figure out
Yes.
stuff?
No, I provided it to Joe because he asked for it.
Yeah.
So do you have those organized? I would love
They're
to.
not organized, they're in the Dropbox.
Okay, so all those things are there and available.
All right.
Right, but there are not measurements per room. You have to work it out
Okay,
with the scale.
yeah. Well, maybe we can spend some time doing that, because I'm not
To work it out
understanding it.
for what?
The
Using the
existing
scale.
conditions
Oh,
drawings
using
are,
the scale.
you have to use the scale. Those numbers are not itemized in each
Okay.
room.
So, can we?
I don't think, I really, I mean, I think knowing where the insulation exists and what kind it is
Yeah.
something that we need to provide.
Yeah.
Because, well, I can't provide it because I don't know, but you have some knowledge of it. It might be incomplete, but you have some knowledge of it. But figuring out the measurements for every room, is that our job right now? To determine the heating and the cooling?
Well, it's information that if we can provide it to somebody, it saves them time and money to make an estimate.
Well, it may be that, Tim has,
I was gonna say,
Has
what
the
did come
data.
from it if they didn't measure it?
We've
no,
got
they
to,
measured it.
Oh,
But
okay.
we don't have
Can
we
we-
don't have the raw data.
Would
let's,
I possibly get it?
But Tim might still
Yeah,
have it.
yeah.
Yeah.
let's
I-
make some, I remember seeing some of that stuff
I do too.
now, but it's a while ago and I don't
Yeah.
know where I can put my hand on it. So maybe we need to spend a little time looking for some of these things that we know exist so that we can have it when we need to grab it and hand it
Okay.
to somebody or show it
Barry,
to somebody.
I don't mind working with you on that to see if we can do some measurements, and I think that would be really useful for us.
I think,
And we do have some of that already, but we
done.
need to
I
just
think
make
you're
sure
done.
that we have it all together.
Well, from time to
People don't.
time, we need that kind of
Yes,
information.
we do.
Before you
I
go
think-
looking,
I think you should
And if we
use
can
Tim's
show it to
measurements,
somebody,
because
it
the
helps,
existing
it
condition
saves
is
time.
based on.
before you go looking and searching,
Yeah.
let me just ask Tim where
Let you
they
search,
are.
let you search with your
Yeah.
facilities.
And if we never did those, then that's one thing.
No,
But
they did 'em.
if we've
They
got
did, I can
them,
remember.
They did
let's
'em, and
just
I remember
agree
that.
I will go and get them.
Okay. So we need to put together a list of information that would be useful to provide to anyone who wants to look at these projects, that we can provide
That's right.
easily. I have something to talk to you about later that I will mention, and that we can put them together in a booklet, because I picked something up at the transfer station where we can make a book. And that would be available to anybody that wanted, so we would have it too, and not have to go searching.
All right,
That's an aside.
all right.
So can we just,
So we're gonna try to organize a meeting with
How long is this gonna
Tim
take?
Wysocki
Yes.
in order to review what we've found out from these other people we've talked to.
Well, we should have this other information available too.
when can you do
yeah.
it, Barry? How's my time is freer than yours.
Well, I don't know. My time is fairly free. The big thing is where to look for it and how to find it.
The existing conditions drawings are in the curatorial building.
Existing conditions drawings.
That's, if you want to transfer Tim's measurements to those drawings, then that's where they are. But you need to get Tim's measurements. There's no,
In curatorial,
they spend a
huh?
lot of time, there's no point in reinventing the wheel here.
Absolutely.
I agree. That's what I'm trying to do
And the point is that we need to organize it so that they're easily available.
so we can find it, know where it is and what it is.
Well, I think putting it on an existing
I don't
document is
have any idea
really
where that
useful.
stuff is. Is that on the flat shelves?
It's over, I can probably,
Well, you can find it when we're in there Wednesday.
well, that's a whole week away practically.
No.
Could you and I, between you, Tim, and I, could we find it? And then everybody else
think-
doesn't get drawn
I
into
think
it?
if you wouldn't mind just asking Tim to make a copy of all his measurements for us,
Yeah,
But they
then,
I probably have them in my,
they had drawings of the rooms that they'd written the measurements on.
Mm-hmm, I remember that.
I remember seeing those now, but I don't know where they are.
well, those
Okay.
find
measurements need to be transferred to our existing conditions drawings.
Yeah.
We paid money for those. And you
Who
and
did we
I.
pay for those?
Hmm?
Who did we pay for
That
those?
was a-
Dan?
Yeah, with Mogul, well, Nikki
Mogul.
Fletcher.
Yeah.
Because Dan was out of it by then. So what other things, aside from the actual measurements of the rooms and where the insulation exists, what other things do we know about that are important for these people that are gonna look or have looked at the building? Are there other things?
You know, the vision that we have for where things should be, that should be part of this plan too, so that they can work around that.
Well, that's your,
That's the preservation plan.
that's the preservation plan, and that already exists.
That already exists, but it does, but we
But
need
it's
to make
not
it,
updated.
but we need to make it part of this, what
So-
we provide to the people who are doing the work.
Okay, so number 3 would be preservation plan.
so number 1 is to,
Measurement of
Copy all
rooms, where does
measurements.
the insulation,
What, if you could just do one thing for us, and which is to ask Tim to make a copy of all the measurements that he did.
yeah,
um,
I've got that down.
Then those could be given to,
I know we've got them somewhere, but I have no idea where.
well, we can't,
I know I saw them once, so.
well,
Let me start with it, because I think that
Yeah.
it's
We'll find
possible
it
they
more
could be
easily.
rolled up with the existing conditions, it's possible, but I don't recall that. So, we need to know where the insulation exists, and that's something I can't do. So, that's just a list of, that's another kind of existing condition, right? And then the actual measurements applied to the existing conditions drawings.
Basically, the insulation is in the 2 outside walls of the entrance room. And in
The new walls.
Yeah, the 2 new walls there, and the end wall of the gallery. the outside wall there has got insulation in it. I don't think there's any place else that is significant, well, there is some under the long window in the kitchen, but that's probably gonna get reworked anyway. In fact, that's such that I wouldn't leave that there, it's pink insulation. Now, there's it's pink insulation in both places, but I'm not tearing those walls apart. I don't see any need to. They're insulated, they're insulated. It isn't the kind we're gonna put in now if we put any in, but I can't see tearing out the walls to just change what kind of insulation it is.
All right, so as far as, so there's just two areas then? The
I think
outside wall
so.
of the gallery, well, the gallery isn't an outside wall, well,
Yes, the end with the window,
oh,
where the window
Yeah,
is,
yeah,
that
yeah,
end, that wall.
okay. And,
And I know there's insulation in it because we saw it when we were doing wiring.
and the okay. And the entrance room, the two outside walls of the entrance room,
Yeah.
We had to build, replace the walls, because
okay,
they were so badly.
Yeah, we replaced them.
all right. So that settles that. We don't have to worry anymore about finding out where the rest of it is.
No.
So the outside wall of the gallery,
What,
I'm trying to write down the two things.
I've got them.
Yeah,
I've got them. It's the outside walls of the two outside walls of the entrance room and the outside wall of the gallery.
Excellent.
yeah.
I crossed it out so I don't have to worry
Okay,
about it.
is there anything else? We've got three things here.
I think that's a significant,
Yeah, getting that back collected so we know where it all is and so forth, and can use it for, and we can make it available to other people that are doing things for us.
I think that goes
That's
to
right.
your,
Yeah,
the higher probability that we get apples to apples.
yes,
yeah,
absolutely.
Estimates.
exactly.
We're giving them all the same information. to
So if Tim can unearth that information, then we don't have to look for it, and it can be given to, so we want to have that in place
Soon.
if we meet with Tim Wysocki.
I will go home this afternoon and look for it.
Yeah,
When would you want to meet with Tim Wysocki?
I'd say when he's available.
Mhm.
So maybe by the end of the month or
Yeah.
yeah,
early March.
Just don't make it a Monday or a Wednesday,
No Monday or Wednesday.
unless it's in the afternoon.
Okay.
My Tuesdays have been taken up, but
All day?
yeah,
Yeah,
So
Tuesday.
Tuesday's not good for you, okay. So that leaves us Thursdays and Fridays, and Monday, Wednesday afternoon.
afternoons aren't bad. It depends on what Tim's available for.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Does he work from home?
I think sometimes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was my, that's what I was thinking.
He met us during the day, one day, the day that,
Yeah, and then he went back to work, so
Yeah.
I'm assuming it was,
he just took time out from his.
okay, anything else for heating and cooling?
I think we've beaten that one to
We
death.
have beaten that one.
yes.
I'm not sure where we ended up, but
Well, there was
That we're
no,
going to meet with Tim Wysocki
Yeah.
after we get the measurements, so that
so
Barry
those are
can-
the next two things that we really need to come up
Yes.
with.
Yeah,
Got it.
it looks like no one is really wanting National Grid to spend $200 an hour for National Grid
Not
to
yet,
come.
oh, I think we may decide to,
but not right
but
now.
not now.
Once we get our, everything lined up, I think that would be the time
Our
to do it.
homework.
Yeah.
All right,
If it's gonna cost us $200 an hour, we need to have all our information in order.
Our,
Mhm.
yes, what do they call it, our ducks lined up in a row.
Yeah.
So in the
All right, so-
meantime, these other guys that we've chatted with are just on hold.
Yeah.
well,
they
they're
were
on
gonna be
hold
on hold,
anyway.
and- yeah.
I mean, that's a huge,
Yeah.
Well,
commitment
we're,
to-
we're in no position to do that right now.
Right.
We're just trying to get information so that when we're ready
Gesundheit.
to go, we're ready to go.
Mhm.
All right, so my responsibility is to get back to Amanda and tell her we're making sure she has all the contractor information, which I think, didn't I give her that? Didn't I tell her?
I thought so.
Yeah, I told her the outcome of the 3 visits. So I just have to touch base with her just to tell her that we're trying to work through
What we
the
want.
information that we have.
Yeah.
All right. So the last thing for the Bullard House is CMRPC, and I don't have anything to say except that I did send them the LOC signed, and Trish Settles acknowledged the receipt of it and said thank you. That's all I know.
Mhm. And kind of put us on hold until,
She didn't say anything further. She said thank you.
I
And
might
we
have
send her
known I
the
was-
letter.
I sent her, I think I
The-
sent
the
it to
letter that
Tim
Timothy
also.
But
suggested, yeah.
she knew that
Timothy
we were
Brokaw.
waiting for the next
Yeah.
opportunity, that we weren't gonna try to do it this time.
I mean, it was too late anyway.
Oh, it was too late?
Too late for the February one.
Right.
Oh.
Yeah.
All right.
So that bought us a little time to go while
All
we're
right.
working on this other stuff.
Well, she received it. That's all I can tell you. On Tuesday, let's see, last Tuesday, February 4th, is that last Tuesday? Well, anyway, I did Zoom with CPAC, and CPAC voted to approve our proposal for the clothing collection. And so our next hoop, I guess, is the warrant article. And I don't know.
Do they write the warrant articles and put them in
Yes.
for us?
Yes.
Okay. 'Cause we gotta make sure the warrant articles for anything we want that are in the town meeting warrant now. So we don't we don't get messed up that way. Lots of times people put in for capital and then they don't put in their warrant article. And that, going to capital does not get it on the warrant.
No, I think that Maureen makes sure that
Writes
it's
the
all
articles.
done,
Okay.
yeah. It's nice having someone to do all the clerical
I
stuff.
know.
Well, it's important that we know that they've been put in, or that they're being put in.
Yeah.
Well, there's 3 projects that are looking for funding for CPA this year, so
Mhm.
I think they'll all be put in together.
What are the 3 projects this year? Or
It's
the
the
other
town
2?
hall steps
Yeah, it's a plan for
designing.
redesigning the access and the town hall, the granite steps in
Yeah.
front of the town hall.
Mhm.
And the other is the parking access facilities for Horseshoe Pond.
For what?
Horseshoe Pond,
Oh.
off of Lyman.
Okay.
Okay, so, just to let you know, and I think I already told you, that, CPAC asked for how, our consultant, should she be voted, positively, how, she would be paid, and they want a contract.
Mhm.
But we don't have to worry about that until town meeting.
We get the approval,
Right.
yeah.
And the other piece was if she is hired, then she needs to be, she'll invoice at the end of each month that she works.
Mhm. And she's used to working with CPAC funds in other places too.
Yeah. She
So-
said that typically she didn't negotiate a contract for this kind of a project. But that would, that it's not a problem for her, for us to work one out,
Yeah.
so, whatever,
Well, it could be a little bit open-ended too.
yeah.
I don't know.
Well, by mutual agreement, that's usually
Yeah,
how they word that. So that's it for the historical collection. I don't think we want to belabor any other part of it right now.
I just have one quick question. Once she goes through all of these, the clothing and that, where, do we have a place to store it?
It has to go in, it has to remain in the curatorial building, whatever, unless, you know, we can offload some of it,
Yeah.
which I'm hoping that we will.
we also have plans to create some space in the Bullet House upstairs for some of it.
Okay.
Exactly what form that's gonna take is gonna depend somewhat on working with her.
Okay.
That's a
maybe-
little bit what I was wondering about earlier on, when I said we do have space in,
The house, yeah.
But
house.
But it has to be developed, so it's appropriate.
Yeah.
And because we had talked about
For now.
taking the upstairs bathroom, that long kind of corridory space,
Yeah.
and using that for storage.
Or even that little room
And
right off
that's-
of the ballroom.
so it's not like we don't have any storage
That's-
anywhere.
Well,
you know?
that space is, Dick and I had that figured out that we could put our big clothing boxes in there. It's deep enough so we could make it that way, in which case we build shelves and stuff in the place. But we also have the matter that our consultant says that certain things should be on hangers. And we've got no place that's satisfactory for that right now. And it might be that we develop that as a hanging closet too. So we've got a couple of different ways we could go with that, depending on what the conclusions of this study are.
So I don't know if you know that, the little room, in the middle there that was taken, made it into a small bedroom taken from the grand
Yeah.
hall. That would be, I mean, do you have any other plans for that? I mean, that would not be a bad place to store the clothing.
No, I think we want to put it,
Well, we had thought at one point that we could have a little office there. I don't know if that will
I think the thought was
materialize.
the upstairs bathroom area is kind of wasted space otherwise, and
That's
it would
right.
be a good place to utilize for storage. It doesn't have a window, it doesn't
No.
really have a door, it's
No.
very claustrophobic.
Yeah, and easily,
it,
fairly easily accessible.
the small room we
Okay.
had planned as an office space and a space where, for instance, that's where we'd have the computer and work collection stuff, incoming collection stuff and so on. We're using the curatorial building for a lot of workspace now. And yet we know that we need every inch of that space for storage in the long run. And so I'm hopeful that we can move some of that office activity out. It would give us room for a couple of more chunks of shelving downstairs. Our work table space and so forth would go so that we could get more storage space in the building. And maximize it for storage and have the activities of administration down in the house. I don't know, maybe that,
Sounds good.
Well, it'll unfold for us.
It'll
as we
unfold.
move along.
Yeah,
It'll
you don't have to
unfold.
make any decision right now.
I want to make a suggestion about the West School. Barry and I talked a little bit about the West School on Wednesday. We have to face the fact that we don't have a financial platform that would allow us to allow the Historical Society to own it.
at the moment.
Right. But we don't have any time.
Yeah.
My suggestion is to talk more specifically with the Habitat for Humanity person or committee, whatever, so that we understand what they could actually do to preserve the exterior. You know, I know that that's kind of giving up on,
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
it's a foray into giving up
Yeah.
our ownership of it as a historic building, but we don't have a sugar daddy that I know of, and I think we should, I think we should take this opportunity to at least explore that.
You know, it's interesting because we have, what do we have like five, how many, we have the old school buildings are still existing. I don't remember how many it is.
At least two, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but they've all been,
Right,
massacred,
right, but
making
that's,
them into
but that's
houses.
another part of the story, and if we're willing to give up, if we have to, if we're forced to give up the little school, then it may be that there are other things, other ways that we can let people know. A lot of people have no clue that that little house there, that I drive by all the time,
Yeah.
was an old school. So, I mean, I think we can continue to do things with those buildings, not.
That are residences.
Yeah, that are residences and have little, you know, I mean,
Well,
if we're creative.
Barry had a program on the school committee reports because he organized those. And we had Steve Reed at that meeting, I think. Steve Reed owns the last North School. Isn't that right? East School. I get them mixed up. East School.
Which street?
Gates Pond Road.
Gates Pond Road is east, yeah.
So, you know, the society has made, this is how many years ago now? 3?
I don't know.
Anyway, it was a program that highlighted some interesting things in those school committee reports. And Barry also had some of the file photographs that we had to show what the buildings, the 1850 versions of the school buildings looked like. So,
That's where having all those old photographs is gonna be helpful,
oh yeah.
if we
Well,
wanna show.
I just wanted to mention that
So you're
there
saying.
is an opportunity, if people want to help me with it. We had a very, History Matters planned a very simple kind of interactive activity, which was everybody had a map and some pictures, and we were going to plot where the schools have survived from the 1857 or that era, and then post offices, and that would be, you know, that's about an hour and a half. It was just a fun activity, and just because people like to see those old pictures. And what happened was I couldn't get it together because I had this respiratory issue. So it's rescheduled for April.
So you're actually saying to do site visits or
No,
map? A
no,
map,
just
okay.
it's usually if I do the History Matters, if it's not a film or somebody is a guest and giving a presentation, it's really an activity that I do because I'm not a lecturer. You know, that's not my thing. And so we have some fun, either just with discussion and having some props. And it's an opportunity to bring awareness to the schools, but we'd have to get it together pretty soon. I think, Janet, you might be interested because it is programming.
That would be neat.
And anyway, I'm just putting it out there. If you want to be involved in that, just let me know, because I have to get my act together about it pretty soon.
I'd be happy to work with you
Yeah,
if you would
it's a
like.
History Matters thing, but if we wanted to make it more than that, that would be fine.
One of the things that I'm increasingly aware of is that we're getting to the end of the people who went to one-room schools in Berlin.
would be Faith.
people like my brother and my cousin Gracie and.
How about Edie?
Hmm?
Edie?
Edie Brewer.
Edie's in the hospital.
Is she?
I've spent some time with Janet O'Brien yesterday. I mean, this is getting to the end of the people that, I went to the one-room schools, the old buildings, for half of my first grade year only. And, okay, we used the outhouse, we had the well out front, some of that stuff. But we weren't a one-room school anymore, because it was the center school, and they had upstairs and downstairs and 2 rooms downstairs. So it wasn't that total experience, but a lot of the others, the end of them is coming. And some people have written some stuff about it. Mary Ellen wrote stuff and put it in the paper about it years ago.
I went to a one-room school.
There's another one somewhere that is, that somebody had written some about that we've got in the collection, but that's kind of the end of that. Now, those weren't real one-room schools. They had
Right. all-
consolidated the grades.
Right, right.
And
Mine was just
went from
one
building
grade.
to building and 2 grades in a room sort of
Yeah.
stuff. But it was still, it was the last gasp of using those old buildings.
Yeah.
But the real one-room school stuff had already left 10, 20 years earlier, where you had many multiple grades in the same room. But, yeah, we're coming to the end of the people that had that experience, that lived that experience, and it used to be all kinds of people, and now it's only, we're burying them pretty fast these days.
So really, there are different levels of how we can keep those buildings alive. And one is through the stories people tell,
Yeah.
right? And others, and they'll, because before they're all gone. And I think, and the other would be, to photograph the schools today and the old photographs and put them side by side. And so maybe it would be more beneficial for our energy regarding schools to go into some of those ways of remembering them and not necessarily spending a lot of money and time on trying to fix up the one school that,
Well, I think
Could
as,
not.
Well, we don't have any money.
We don't have any money.
exactly, and there's the other good reason. And so maybe that's something that we should start to poll people about who would like to work on doing some research and some
I
things
had
around the old schools. Not us, but other
Yeah.
people that might be
It's
interested.
nice to have pictures and all that, but it's also, I think we should be aware that we're letting a lot of our history go. Pictures are pictures, but,
It's,
and I understand
we're
that we're.
not too proactive.
Exactly,
as an
maybe we need
as
to be
a
proactive, more
commission.
proactive, because so many of our buildings have been lost, and there are grants available in CMRPC, because that's what I was mentioning the other, last time I spoke with you, that they do have grants to restore these buildings, and we're not pursuing that.
Grants for what?
Restoring old buildings,
Oh,
they do have that in CMRPC, that's one of the things that
They'll help you write one.
Yes.
They know where to
Yes.
go for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that we're not being proactive about.
Yeah. Well,
Who's
it's-
gonna,
it's
who's
too late, it's too
volunteering in
late.
this
It's
group
too
to be
late for that.
proactive on that?
it's too late for this one, I'm pretty sure.
It is too late. So are there any other buildings that we should be proactive about?
Remember, when we are proactive to fix up buildings too, that we have to maintain them.
Yeah.
And so that money has to come out of somewhere else.
Well, we've made a promise, the society made a promise to maintain the Hearst House for 20 years.
Yeah.
So,
Those are things we have to think about, but we can't let everything go. You look around in different towns and you see so many of these architectural, historical buildings that are, that are there.
well, I think that's why we need to make the Bullet House project work.
Well,
Mhm.
It's gonna be our showcase,
yeah,
that we can make it work.
Mhm.
we need,
yeah,
definitely.
because people are losing confidence in our ability to do that.
no kidding. And we're probably 5 years away from opening
Yeah.
if we were lucky at this point. I
Opening which now?
Bullet House.
Oh, the Bullard House.
don't know if I'll be alive by then.
Yeah, me
Don't
neither.
say that, Barry.
Me neither.
It's a process. Unfortunately, it's not a
Well,
button-pushing
Anyways.
thing.
for the school issue,
So it sounds like we have to
so,
let that go.
there's a couple of things on the table. One is, meeting with Habitat for Humanity, and I
Mhm.
can, go forward with trying to schedule that if you want me to.
I think that would be a good idea.
And the other thing is the History Matters thing, which could be, it could be a Historical Society meeting instead, or in addition, if you wanted to really make people aware of the schools at this point. It's an opportunity. It's April 12th that they've given me. I couldn't do tomorrow because I was trying to get better.
So April 12th is what,
That's what they've given me.
you mean 19?
Yeah, 19 Carter. But whatever we do there could be a limited activity. The commission or the society could have a much more comprehensive and discussion and meeting about the schools, if you wanted. I'm just putting it out there. The thing with History Matters can just be what it is, and go no further with it. Barry really has, I mean, I've read as much as I can read about the schools and the 2 history books, and I've looked at most of the pictures that are in our files. Not all of them, because I think
Big
some,
thing is interior photographs. It's almost none.
yeah.
Very, very few.
That one, you know, the one I'm thinking of, is it the center school that shows all the children
No, that's
at
the
their
South
desks?
Street. Oh, no, never mind.
At
That's the one.
it's an interior. That's all right, I don't wanna,
What, the one that Faith has when she was a kid in the school?
not the one I showed you, which is on the steps,
Out front?
not that one,
No, I mean the interior.
the interior one.
Yeah.
Which school is that?
Well, the one that Faith had is the center school.
Is the center school, okay.
June, did you come across, when you were looking at our stuff from the family, did you come across any
No
photos?
interiors.
No interior photos, huh?
But but they are organized,
Yeah,
together. And there are a couple of fun ones of, you know, Florence not looking at the camera and,
yeah.
yeah.
I know there are other local school photographs from the past that I've seen. I'd have to, it's that thing where you have to try to remember where they are,
Yeah.
but.
Well, the ones that, you know, that Tim made available, they're together. I don't remember. I think they're mostly of the South School.
Mhm.
That's what I remember anyway.
I can start to look a little bit.
Yeah. There might be others that you have
Yeah,
floating around.
yeah.
So anyway, my job is really just to reach out to Habitat for Humanity through Lisa.
Mhm.
And if I don't hear from anybody, I'll just soldier on with the History Matters thing.
I'd like to, you know, I would think it would be interesting to meet with the Habitat for Humanity to find out, you know, what it is, because it's a small building. You know, I don't know what the dimensions are on it, but they would have to be making some changes to that. I mean, they might be able to leave part of it, or, you know, most of it there, but in order to, you know, they need to do some additions to it, to the, you know, to the building,
Well, I
to
mean,
make it,
one of the
you know, most places need a
typical
couple
things
bedrooms.
is to keep the core
Yeah.
keep the core and add on your modern.
Does anybody know offhand how many of the old school buildings still are standing?
What?
Not as old school buildings, as houses.
Well,
Well,
Does
What, in
anybody know how
Berlin?
many in Berlin?
just two.
Yeah, just the four.
Just the
Four.
4, okay.
yeah.
But that's still pretty good to have 4 schools have
Well,
survived in
they're
a small
they're
town.
pretty well modified, but
Yeah.
one's in your neighborhood
Yeah,
on,
The fifth one,
Absolutely.
the fifth one was right outside this wall, and that, they tore down when this addition was put on it.
the other thing I don't wanna forget, but we're getting on here, is, Mr. Fermanic.
Jeff from
Yeah, he,
Jeffrey Fermanic lives next door to it.
Yeah.
To the West School.
he called me and I talked to him.
He doesn't want that business, and he doesn't like it, and so forth, and I'm with him. So
Doesn't
I'll
like
go
what
meet
business?
with him
He
instead
doesn't
of
want
you.
neighbors. He'd rather it be kept as owned by the town, I guess, and
and which school are they talking about?
the West School.
The West School, yeah.
Yeah, the West School.
the Legion, the old Legion Hall.
So just so that you know, he is very interested in advocating for it to remain. But I don't think he understands that if it remains in town ownership, the ability to fix the mold and all of that,
Yeah.
that,
The building will be
Then-
gone in 10 years.
then that has to go through all the stuff that we have to go through.
See, the big problem is that this whole thing got developed under the radar.
Which thing?
The housing trust.
The
Oh, the
housing
housing
business.
trust,
They
yes.
got that whole thing progressing considerably before anybody else knew about it. I guess they knew about, if you was at the selectmen's meeting at the right day, you might have heard about it, but that's about it. And so, all of a sudden, we're working from a disadvantage when they've been working at it for a while and we didn't even know about it.
And I'm gonna sound, well, anyway. Do we know where the money would come from?
No.
To
Habitat for
fix that?
Humanity. And
Fix
the,
it to turn it into a museum
and
building?
CPAC and so
Oh.
forth, sure.
No, we don't have any money for that.
I mean, we don't, yeah, where
I
are we
mean,
gonna,
C-
are we gonna
CPAC,
put the Bullard House
commu-
onto a halt while we do that building, or how do you do that?
Community Preservation Act has money set aside for housing, so they can use that money for this project.
For, what is this project?
To turn
A
it
modern
Habitat for
house.
Humanity.
House.
But a modern house. I
Well,
mean, you're not
Eh,
talking
We're not
about
talking, you can say modern house. They're turning the school building into
a
a
home,
residence.
residence.
a
dwelling
residence.
house.
And that would be able to be changed or fixed or torn down.
well,
I mean, it
that's
would
why,
belong to
that's why I
private-
wanna talk to them. I want to know,
If they can maintain
If-
some of the old building.
right, what would they,
facade.
what would be feasible?
Well, that's one of the things, I don't know if you remember, Lisa said, that they would be preserving the outside of it.
Yeah, well, I think we,
Yeah, I don't believe her, I never believe her.
well, we need to know what that means.
It's hard, yeah.
Yeah.
And
there
where
has-
the money's gonna come from?
Well, it
Right.
won't, it
well, if
doesn't
you-
matter.
If
It's
Habitat for
Habitat.
Humanity is doing it, then they have to worry about the money, not us.
And that becomes a contemporary, I mean, not contemporary, but a modern home, a home that,
It becomes a home,
a present home,
yeah.
It's off the town.
yeah.
It doesn't stay on the town.
And so it doesn't, there's
Town
no
ownership.
guarantee that the family won't say, we gotta tear
Well,
this
that's-
down and do something
That's
different."
why I was asking about a preservation restriction.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm gonna follow that up, and I
missed
know,
it.
I know when people can't meet, so I'll try to
Okay.
figure that
I
out.
think it would be worthwhile to meet with them.
Yeah.
Yeah, give it
I
a
agree
try.
with that. Even if it's in the evening or something like that, would be fine with me.
Okay.
Because sometimes it's easier for me to meet in the evening, because I have things to do
Well,
in the
yeah,
daytime.
that's true.
The
It's
restriction
a
would be
long time
interesting to
since I've been
see.
in
What
there,
is
and
it?
I don't,
That would
Oh,
take a while.
that's the other piece.
is the, we need to
Do you
know
want me to ask Fred if we can,
whether
get
there's
in there?
anything there that we need to be concerned about.
Actually,
Yeah.
the last time I was there was when we met there as a Girl Scout.
Well, that's only
So
3 or 4 years ago.
Couple years ago.
does anybody wanna talk to Fred and, And,
See about getting a key?
well, or just, usually what they do is let us in.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, of course. I don't mind talking, because I'll be here
You
on
wanna
Monday.
ask him?
Yeah.
And you know, it's, Tuesdays are no good for Ellie and,
Monday and Wednesday mornings are no good for me.
for you, okay, and
Okay.
I'm pretty flexible unless I have some kind of medical thing.
Stop having those.
You can't
know.
always predict those.
No. Anyway, so the last thing I have, and we don't have to address it now, is I want to make sure that you have read that letter from MHC that Edward Bell wrote. He's an archaeologist, because he talks about the responsibility that MIPA has to consider the historic remains in the Mill Pond area that would be affected by the demolition and the remediation. And they do,
Is this a new
no,
letter?
no, I sent it to you probably a month ago.
Oh, boy.
Do you want me to send it to you again?
All of us, please.
I don't know, I'll go look and see what you've got there.
If you wanted to send it again, that would be nice, if you
Okay.
can.
All right,
Because mine,
I had to scan it, so I have a scan on my
oh, good, okay.
send, scan. I sent them a letter. I sent MHC a copy, and I sent Interfluve, who is the company that did the reporting on the archaeological assessment that was done by the Public Archaeology Lab. I know about them, and in my letter, I said that we were concerned with having a visual reminder
Of the
left,
dam.
yeah. And so, just read it, it's an interesting letter, at least to me, and you need to know. And nothing further has come since then. I'm not sure where it is in here. I left it out because I wanted to make sure you had seen it. Anyway, that's all I have.
Okay.
So Lucy and Barry have some measurements to receive from Janet
Yep.
and Tim.
Send it to all of us. That would be, just send it to all of us, so we all have a copy of
Yeah,
it.
and I
think
don't think I have his measurements. I know I have some adjusted measurements that he made based on Nikki's question at the end, but I don't believe I have all the others that he and Kevin did. They could be rolled up with the actual existing conditions that are
Are
in the
these large
character.
versions? Or are they just the ones that would, just so I know what I'm looking for?
Where's that rolled up thing in the building, do you
I
know?
think you just need to ask him.
It's to the,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah,
at the
Right. I've seen them floating around.
inside end of where the desk is, where the table is.
Yeah,
And sometimes I get frustrated because I don't have any room to put anything on the table.
yeah,
So I move things. I don't move them very far because I
Yeah.
don't want you to
yeah.
worry about where they've gone, and then I can't remember either. But it could be the big rolled up thing could be stuck in the nearest bookcase,
Oh,
shelf. It could be sticking out there.
okay, we'll do some looking around.
Yeah. Anyway,
Move to adjourn.
Second.
okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
We always
Adjourn.
look half dead when we
I
move to
won't be
adjourn.
here for the March
When is that?
14th meeting.
It's March 14th?
Isn't that the next?
Yeah,
the next
28 days.
schedule?
It usually is, isn't it?
So,
Just like in the same.
Well, it should
yeah.
be the same as this today.
Yeah.
Should be
March
the
14th.
14th.
Well, because I'm